Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Slot explains why Man City are ideal opponents for his evolving Liverpool. Second news is Hugo Ekitike makes Liverpool transfer admission after Manchester United and Newcastle interest. Third news is Liverpool have taken needless transfer gamble and risk Champions League future as a result. Now details. Slot believes a visiting Manchester City will provide him the ideal barometer to gauge where his Liverpool team are at in their development this weekend. The Reds were soundly beaten at the Etihad earlier this season, losing 3-0 in a sequence of results that saw them lose 9 of 12 games between late September and November. The Reds have lost just one in their last 16 games since the end of November, but have drawn as many as 6 in that time, meaning they head into the weekend in 6th, behind Chelsea and Manchester United in the race for the Champions League places. Slot, who, alongside sporting director Richard Hughes, presided over a summer overhaul that saw around £450 spent to recruit 8 new players as 10 left, thinks he is starting to see signs the new-look squad is finally finding its feet. However, the head coach thinks the arrival of City on Merseyside is the ideal team to judge how far his squad have come, saying, "In that game at the Etihad, it was obvious where we struggled. I prefer to keep that from myself as I always protect my players. They had the ball much more than we wanted them to. We struggled to bring the ball out from the back. They didn't even create many chances, but it was 2-0 at half-time, and they had a penalty miss from Erling Haaland. We pressed them. I am very curious to see that in that time, I was not happy with how we, as a team, how little intensity we had in our pressing. For me, that is the biggest difference between this season and last season. Last season our pressing was much better than it was at the start of this season, but I do see a good development. Our players are able to run more and press better, combine that with defensive responsibility. That is why I am interested to see against probably the best, or one of the best teams in ball possession, can I see that progression in our work rate off the ball." Slot added, "We are in a position we are in with this group of players, and I think there's more to come from this group of players that we've got out of them until now, for obvious reasons. Some reasons I probably blame myself a little bit, but some things I cannot do anything about. Injuries, a player's not ready to play 3 games a week. But it's clear and obvious that if we have an injury crisis, even more than we already have, then that makes things even more difficult. I just said I have 16 players available, and Trey Nyoni and Rio Ngumoha are 2 of them. So yeah, we know what the situation is, but this squad is able to do better and more than we've done till now in my opinion. But then they all need to stay available, and that's gonna be a hell of a challenge because we have 3 games in 7 days coming up." Second news is Hugo Ekitike makes Liverpool transfer admission after Manchester United and Newcastle interest. Hugo Ekitike admits there was no way he could turn down an approach from Premier League champions Liverpool last summer, insisting he joined the best team in England. The France international striker, whose debut campaign at Anfield has seen him score 15 goals, was pursued heavily by Newcastle United last summer, while Manchester United also reached out to former club Eintracht Frankfurt, with director or recruitment Christopher Vivell understood to have contacted the Bundesliga side's sporting director, Marcus Krosch, directly. It was Liverpool who won the race, however, signing the former Paris Saint-Germain starlet for a fee worth up to £79 in July, and speaking to Sky Sports in a segment that saw the Reds know 22 answer questions from supporters. Ekitike says it was an easy decision to make at the time. "Liverpool, first of all, they are champions last season," Ekitike said. "You know you can join the best team in England. How can you say no? Obviously from the players they have, their style of play they have, I just saw myself playing in this team. I was thinking I would really look good and it was the best choice. It was an easy choice. I was on vacation in the summer and he and head coach Arne Slot, had a long talk on the phone and he explained to me what he likes in a player and what he expects from a player. Goal for 2026 is probably to achieve something big with Liverpool, win 1 trophy and personally just keep doing what I am doing, go to the World Cup with the national team. That would be very special." Ekitike added, "I think the first challenge when you change team is to settle well, to adapt to your teammates, the club and the expectations from the club. And also I would say on the pitch about creating links with other players, but it comes with time. Probably the intensity and the number of games we play is different in the Premier League. Always it is high intensity, as a level. You cannot play a Premier League game and be at like 60% of yourself because you will get bullied and you will do nothing. So you need to be ready physically, mentally, every 3 days, every week to play every game. I have really good teammates, to be honest. They are really easy to talk to and I kind of talk to everybody. They help me in every way." We don't see each other much outside of the pitch or the training ground, but it is always good times. Whenever you are training and they are really funny, a really good group of guys. Third news is Liverpool have taken needless transfer gamble and risk Champions League future as a result. The final hours of the transfer window, as they so often are across the Premier League, sounded particularly fraught at Liverpool. Sunday morning came the news that the Reds were trying to arrange a deal that would effectively see them take over the arrangement of Lutschel Geertruida's loan from RB Leipzig to Sunderland, with Arne Slot in need of defensive cover. Injuries to Connor Bradley, Joe Gomez and Jeremy Frimpong were poorly timed given the head coach had stressed at the beginning of the month that it appeared unlikely the club would be doing anything in the market. By the middle of the month, Slot indicated that he expected to end the window with the same options he already had at his disposal, but with issues for all three players leaving numbers stretched to breaking point, his tone changed somewhat after the 4-1 victory over Newcastle United. "We are trying to strengthen the squad and not trying to weaken it," the Reds head coach said. "But yeah, there are 48-72 hours to go. Let us see where the window ends up." The plan to take Geertruida, Slot's captain at Feyenoord, was a complicated one given he was already on loan at Sunderland. So while the Black Cats recognised the opportunity that was presented to the versatile Dutch defender, it was understandable they would want cover themselves before allowing him to move to Merseyside. As a result, the deal was being viewed as too complicated by Sunday evening, and the goalposts were shifted. During that time, Liverpool struck a £60 agreement with Rennes for defender Jeremy Jacquet to join in the summer. It was a snapshot of how the Reds have generally tended to operate in the last decade or so. Why settle for a short-term stopgap when the long-term addition represents a better investment? It's a fair stance and backs up why, pound for pound, the defending Premier League champions likely have the strongest recruitment record in the traditional Big Six in recent years. Manchester City and now even Arsenal may seek a challenge to that, but there have been very few flops at Anfield. There can be a debate as to the merits of certain players, but big money mistakes are few and far between on Merseyside. The idea that planning for the long term takes precedence over panicking for the here and now was something Slot spoke about earlier this week, after previewing Sunday's visit from Manchester City. "I think I've said that we've tried to strengthen the squad, so that probably tells you I wanted players, and I don't think I was the only one who wanted that," he said, "but it's always about availability and the right player. We do have discussions about what is good for the short and for the long term of the club, and now, for example, Jeremy Jacquet wasn't available for the winter, but he was for the summer. Made a decision to sign him because we think he's a really good signing for the future of this club. I'm very happy with the squad, let that be clear, but it's all clear and obvious that we have 3 long-term injuries: Bradley, Giovanni Leoni, Alexander Isak. There is something virtuous about refusing to panic or completing hastily arranged deals for subpar players as a knee-jerk response to what are short-term injury setbacks. Liverpool will rarely, if ever now, be pressed into those sort of transfers, having had their fingers burned when they drafted in £2.6 Ben Davies and an on-loan Ozan Kabak in the winter of 2021, only for neither to feature prominently. Kabak was not of the desired standard, and the Reds eventually refused to make the deal permanent even at half the quoted price from a cash-strapped Schalke, while Davies, a signing from Preston North End, never kicked a ball for the senior side. That being said, the decision to keep the squad as it is for the remainder of the campaign places an enormous amount of trust in Slot and his staff's ability to clear up the injury list and keep what is already a streamlined defensive department ready for the action for the remainder of the campaign. At a time when Liverpool find themselves 6th in the Premier League and outside the places that will guarantee Champions League qualification, it feels like a considerable gamble to hope players like Gomez and Frimpong can get fit and stay available.